Hello, this is Pat Cahill from Pat Cahill Metalworks, and today I thought we'd make some bangles. Just classic bangles. These are going to be hammered. The surface will be hammered, but I'll also show you some other surfaces too. So the first thing you want to do when making bangles is determine what size bangle you need. And the size is determined by the inside diameter of the bangle. And the way you do that is you measure your hand, or the hand that you're making it for, from this knuckle to this knuckle, but not in a fist. Put it down, on a flat surface and measure that to that. And that's, for me, it's 3 inches. So that would be 3 inches internal diameter I need for a bangle for myself. So let's put that in, 3 inches. And what you do is you take the diameter you need, 3 inches, plus the thickness of the wire. And I'm using this 10 gauge wire, which is about 2.5 millimeters or 0.1 inch. So 3.1 times pi, which is 1.141592653, and it goes on for a long time. But I'm just kind of kidding you there. So 3.1. Actually, what I'm going to do, because this is a hammered bangle, it's going to increase when you hammer it. So I'm just going to not use the thickness of the wire, knowing that it'll work out perfectly when I hammer it. So it's just going to be 3 inches times pi, so 3 times 3.14, blah blah blah, is 9.4. 9.4 inches is what I'm going to need to make these bangles. Okay, so that's it. So the next step is just to measure your wire that you're going to use. You can use anything, like I said, but I'm using this 10 gauge wire here. I just heard a sound outside. I was wondering what it was. I want to know what that pause was. Okay, so right there, make my mark. If I can open my pen. And I'm going to cut a couple of those things, and I'll get right back to you for the next step. Okay, so they've both been cut to the proper length, and the next thing I want to do, and I've done it already to 3 sides, is to take my miter jig and just above where we have a flat surface, I want to make that nice and flat and even across. So I'll do that off camera. It'll only take a second. A couple swipes of the file. I'm doing it on my bench pin first, and sand it off nice. So there it is, nice and flush with the surface. So make sure there's no burrs. And the next step is a pretty critical step. You want to get these pieces to align as best as possible. So what you do is you make it a C, or D, I'm sorry, like that, and then fiddle with them till you get them perfectly aligned, like that. So that's one. Sometimes they take a lot more effort than that. I don't know how, well, that thing looks perfect. I don't know how that worked out so well. So again, I make my D, and this one probably won't work out as well as that did. Yeah, I'm gonna see, you want to make that as perfect as possible. So I'm gonna do that, because it does take a little bit of fiddling off camera. And then we'll get back to soldering them. So I'll be right back. Okay, so they're aligned nicely. I'm going to put some flux on the joint. And get out hard solder. cut a couple little nips out of it. Always cut a couple extras. You never know. It's always better to have more than less. Okay, so we'll put the solder tabs on top of our joint. If I can find some good tweezers to do that with. And we'll be ready to solder. Okay. So now it's just soldering it. Don't go straight at the joint right away. Go around the sides. Do them one at a time. I mean, you can start to heat them up here, but I'm going to really concentrate on the one that's closest to me first. So, okay. Well, you just have to be patient. The problem here is, well, it's not really a problem, but this is a big piece of silver, so it cools down pretty quickly when you're not next to it. So I'm over here, this part over here is cooling down. When I'm over here, that part over there. Although it has very good silver has a very good conductivity, it does still cool down. So there we go. Solder's flowing right now. And we have a joint. And that looks good. Put that in the pickle. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so it's been soldered, and the first thing you want to do before you start to round it off is you want to make sure that you don't have any solder blob right where the joint is. And if you look at it carefully, you can see just a little bit of a solder blob, and you want to take care of that. So take a small file and go around and even it off. Get rid of that blob, and if there's any slight misalignment, sure, sometimes there is, most times there is, you want to take care of that too. Okay, and some people don't do this, but every little thing you do shows a lot more quality and care in your work, so I suggest you do these little things. Now in this particular cup, these two bangles, I don't want to call them cuffs, but bangles, they're actually going to be hammered, so it's a lot less important to do this. But if you're not gonna, if you're going to do some other surface ones, which I'll show you later, then it is very important that you get this area as uniform. No blobs or nothing like that. No overhangs as possible. With hammering, you can get away with a lot. Okay, so that's there. I'll just make it a little bit rounder as possible before we go over, and we're going to round it off on the bracelet mandrel. And I'll have to set the camera up over there, and I'll meet you over there. Okay, so here we are over the bracelet mandrel, and pick a spot. And then just slowly tap your way around. Now you don't need a round bracelet mandrel to do this. Just to come out nice and round. Just hammer on the same spot and go around. And I'm using a nylon hammer for this. I don't want to make any marks in it. And this is what you would do for many other types of bangles that aren't going to be hammered. Again, with a hammered fixture, you can get away with quite a bit. So there, that's nice and round, but what it is not flat. So what I'll need to do is bring it over to my metal block and pound it down. So let me just go do that. I'll meet you right back. Okay, so I brought it over and I just hammered it flat onto the steel plate. And you can see it's nice and flat on both sides. So it's nice to start out with a flat, round bangle. And now we're going to hammer it. And so any roundish hammer will do. And then, oh, before I do that, see the size right now is a little, see it's 3s on the outside. But as we hammer it, it's going to expand and it's going to be exactly 3. We keep looking at it and doing more hammering or stop the hammering right when it's done. So just take your time and go all the way around. Using the same spot, you can see this little indentation I have here. That indentation is not really with this oval mandrel, cup mandrel. It's really the tape I put on top of it. But it gives me a reference so I can keep in the same spot. The reason you want to keep in the same spot is it always gives the same curve to it. So when you're done, you will get exactly a round angle. Okay, so once you have your first course done, and you might not need more than 1 course, check it again. Nope, we need to go a little bit more. So back on and hammer it around again, which is good. You want to do it. You want to do it 2 times. So I'm going to hammer this around and get the other one done, and I'll bring you back. Okay, so there they are, our 2 hammered bangles, and they measure exactly 3, just like we want them. And so we're done, but I want to show you some other things you can do. One of the things one can do is it's going to be this cup bracelet right here, or cup bracelet. Bangle, and it's actually it's a subtle look, but it's a nice look. And what you do is you first take your bangle that you made, just plain round, no hammering, and you file. Let's go over here. You file this so it's flat on the top. And I've done that. And then you take a diamond burr and just go all the way around with it. And it gives you that nice sort of sparkly finish. And it's a nice look. And I did it with this one. Again. This one's a little more subtle because I didn't really file it down flat as that other one, but it's a personal preference and I prefer it this way. So you can make bangles all sorts of ways. So another thing you can do is with this, you want to mark out like just the top, the bottom, go on the sides, so you're being consistent. This marker's kind of crappy for this. Then you get the big one out. So again, I'm just marking the top, the bottom, on that side, on that side. It's just an easy way to keep your symmetry, if that's what you want. And after you have that done, and you can actually go even more in between those two, and I will do that for another bracelet. So on the first cuff design I'm going to show you, it's got these little rounded out portions. You can see that, I hope you can. And what I do is I use my round file, and I actually use the round file that's very, very coarse. and I look at my marks, and basically I just want a big dip in there. And then I'll go around and I'll do that on 8 different portions that are equally distant from one another. So that's another one you can do. Another one you can do is you put little notches in it. And this one's like has 16 notches where you did 16 evenly spaced. And once you have them evenly spaced, then you can just go in there with a file and file out each one. I wouldn't use a round one for that. So those are different. There's a million different ways you can make bangles, and it's nice to have some variety. These are the ones we made today. I've made these before, and there you go. Bangles. I wish I could wear bangles. I think they're fun. I mean, I could wear them. What the hell? I don't care. But I really do like the, I'll be playing constantly with them and jingling. That'd be me, so probably shouldn't. Okay, so there you go. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again real soon. Thank you. Bye.